crew may become a little bit impatient and may start early. How do you now assess that situation?
Well, in the past, I guess, on our flights, we've demonstrated a somewhat more than average ability to change our mind and do things late or early or shift things around, maintain as much flexibility as possible. And I suppose that we would like to maintain that possibility now. Before the flight, we like to try to do just the opposite, get things set as firmly as possible in all our procedures and then attempt to stick with them. But should the circumstances at the time indicate that we can better achieve our objectives by using the information that we're gaining at the time we're doing things, then we'd certainly like to reserve that possibility, and I certainly wouldn't like to discount that this time.
One right here.
Jorge Ruiz Aguilar, Núcleo Radio 1000, México.
An item of unusual interest in the nearby area that would warrant inspection at the expense of other of our planned tasks, we would certainly want to retain the freedom to make that inspection, and within our ability to get to the location necessary to do that, why we would certainly like to. I can't at this time say what such an object might be, but if it were an animal, I'm quite sure we would zip over there and take a look. Or maybe we'd go the other way.
John Heavily, French TV News. This is a question for Buzz Aldrin. How can you figure out the chances of total success of moon landing and liftoff as far as LAM and all systems in the LAM are concerned?
I would figure the chances are quite high. To be more specific, I wouldn't have the first idea to go about really how to calculate these. I think the fact that we've had considerable success in our vehicles is indicative of what we hope will follow. We certainly have the utmost confidence of total success.
We have one in the front row here.
One behind you.
Back, second row.
I'd like to know what kind of surface do you expect on the moon? For example, color, the size of particles, or size of boulders, and so on. I'd like to know Mr. Armstrong's opinion and Mr. Aldrin's opinion, both.
Well, fortunately, we don't think we have to guess. I suspect we may be surprised in some detail, but the color is something that is predicted to be gray. Now, various crews in the past have called this bluish gray and brownish gray and greenish gray and maybe slight shades of tans and so on, but we suspect that those colors will manifest themselves in close inspection. The size of the particles will probably be largely very small, sandy, fine particles, but we do hope and expect to see some rock fragments. And I have no idea what size they might be, but we would anticipate that we'll have be able to bring samples back up to and including the size of a golf ball. There may be larger rocks in the vicinity, but we wouldn't expect to bring back large samples.
I think both the answers to your questions have pretty well been borne out by the surveyor program, indicating a very fine-grained, cohesive material with an abundance of varying sizes and varying shapes of harder rock material. And the colors, I'm sure, upon close inspection will be a little bit different, perhaps, than just plain gray. I'm sure there will be some definite color to the crystalline structures of the rocks.
I have a two-part question. One, have either any of you had any colds, sniffles, gastrointestinal upsets, or anything else in the past month? And two, are you carrying anything at all new or different in your medical kits this time?
I don't think we've had any illnesses in the crew. Can't say that we may not have individually had a sniffle or a stuffed up nose sometime in the past month or two. That may be the case. I don't know that, I'm not sufficiently familiar with the medicines carried in 10 and 9 kits to say that there's anything different in ours. Do anybody know? I don't think that there are. If there's any new differences, they're small ones.
The motion sickness pills have changed their chemical composition slightly. They used to be merazine, and now they're a combination of dexedrine and some other thing I can't recall the name of, but I'm sure the medics would be happy to provide you that information.
I'd like to ask Neil Armstrong if he agrees with a congressional mandate which specifies that the U.S. flag and only the U.S. flag be implanted on the moon on Apollo 11.
Well, I suspect that if we asked all the people in the audience and all of us up here, all of us would give different ideas on what they would like to take to the moon and think should be taken. Everyone within his own experience, and I don't think that there's any question about what our job is. Our job is to fly the spacecraft as best as we can, and we never would suggest that it was our responsibility to suggest what the United States posture on the moon would be, and I think that's probably within that decision has been made where it should be made, namely in the Congress of the country. I wouldn't presume to question it.
Ellis Swaite, Beaumont Enterprise. On previous moon flights, astronauts have been pretty busy with such maneuvers as docking and rendezvousing, this sort of thing. I presume it's rehearsal for this trip. Am I correct in assuming this time that your flight will be relatively quiet?
I'm sorry, I didn't. Did you catch that question? I'm sorry, I couldn't understand the question.
On previous moon flights, the astronauts have been busy with such maneuvers as docking and rendezvousing and this sort of thing. In rehearsal for this particular flight, will there be a minimum of that sort of thing on this flight?
Well, they're certainly equally important to this flight as they have been to all others. I think the only difference is that due to the work done on the previous flights, we probably did not need to concentrate so much on those phases in our training, nor will we be, should we be surprised if those activities go as